Jeff Eagar is a film and television producer based in Prince Edward Island. We talked about how he traveled across India in an auto rickshaw with his brothers, how he backed into the film industry through his love of adventure, and the travel series he produced. We also talked about the freedom of being a young artist with more ideas than money, and he gives some advice for getting started in TV and film.
You don't know what to do, and you don't know what to say. Forget all that. Start anyway. Spark that fire and build it high, and watch it burn. Then let it die.
Jeff Eagar. I'm saying your last name right, aren't I?
Perfect. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Nailed it off the top.
One of the few that gets it right the first time.
It helps that I did a little bit of research for tonight, so I did see a few bits of you and your brothers talking. So yeah, so I was prepared.
One of the few women that would do research on me. So you're not in a large cohort, I wouldn't say.
Well, here's a question. When I was looking you up online, and I found the Eagar Brothers website and your bio on there, I was wondering, when was the last time you looked at that bio? Do you remember what's in there?
No, actually, probably no. It's that website is a going concern. When you're busy and stuff, and it's not a revenue generating website, so it's just more of a kind of fun side thing that we do. And
Yeah.
but no, that's a good reminder. I'll go look and see what the bio says.
Well, let me tell you a little bit of what it says, because I was really I chuckled a bit when I read it, because not that it's funny, but it said that Jeff runs marathons, he's climbed mountains, he's traversed the Arctic with Inuit, buried treasure in the Sahara, canoed the Amazon, studied yoga in India, and nearly died in the Philippine Sea. Which is quite a bio to have, Jeff.
That's probably when I was single, so I was, hunting for an eligible partner. Now I probably wouldn't go that far on some of them, but it is all true. But like many people say, you never let the truth get in the way of good stories. So, but yes, they all have a foundation of truth in them for sure, all of them. So.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, like a lot of young people and even old people like us, we feel the need to travel
Yes.
and go far from where they grew up, right? And I still certainly did. I did a lot of wandering, and I still love to travel, but not everyone does those things. So I am wondering what kind of drove you to go to the edges like that.
One of the precursors for that was that I always did everything with my brothers. When we grew up, we were just, we were inseparable. And then we all graduated from university, and then we started traveling. And because we were traveling together, you're a little bit braver when you're in a pack. So,
or you push each other.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So there was three of us, and we were all like 1 year apart. So, and we were all very similar in mindset. We were very cheap, and we were fairly tough, and we were very curious. So we traveled good together. We had a great time, and we just wanted to sort of explore the more of the edges than the we could have stayed. You go to the traditional places like the party spots on the old travel route. They were all over the place, and you could settle down there and drink and smoke and party and just hang out for days, but read and write and all that kind of thing. But we did a fair amount of that, but we also kept going.
Yeah, that reminds me of the book The Beach. It was made into a movie by Alex Garland.
Yes.
You probably saw that years ago. It had that same kind of idea that these people wanted to go further.
It's like all those books. I loved all those writers like Bruce Chapman. He wrote In Patagonia. He went back in the old days, went all through Patagonia before it was, as easy as it is now. Or Paul Theroux, Riding the Rails. He went through China, and he went all over the world on the railroad. So, reading those books as well as you're traveling, gives you more impetus to go a bit further and a bit harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, were you playing around with making films before you started traveling, or did the traveling inspire capturing adventure?
We we kind of backed our way into that whole TV and film, area, that genre. So we we started traveling, and that's we traveled with we started traveling 30 years ago probably, and we were traveling through cheap countries, Bangladesh and India, Russia, um, uh, Central America. So you could really travel a long way on very little money,
Mhm.
years ago, and especially if you were doing it with a cheap mindset, save money,
Yeah.
conserve money so you can go further, travel an extra, 6 months or whatever. So um, that was our intention, just to keep traveling and, avoid work, stop and work a little bit where we had to. But we traveled for a year. First year, we ran out of money. Moved to London, England, and just did some, office work there. We all had business degrees. And uh, then we traveled for another year. And then we went back to England and worked again and stocked up on some money. And then, the traveling was becoming more, we were becoming much more savvy travelers. And there was no way back then to, make money off YouTube or make money off the internet. That wasn't a thing back then. So we wanted to monetize our travels somehow. And,
Mm.
there was no real technology to do that. So we said, well, why don't we write a travel book? So we were going to become famous travel authors. So we got a couple of laptops and a couple of surfboards, and we moved to New Zealand. And we got an old uh, cabin in the woods in the North Island near the ocean. We surfed every day, we did yoga, we hung out, but we also diligently wrote. We'd write. We get up early in the morning and we'd write till noon every day. The three of us in this little cabin, and it was going to be a co-authored manuscript about a travel journey.
Mm.
And we stayed there for a year, and we finished the manuscript, and we we couldn't get it published, so we could never get anybody to take it on. And we had a few, uh, agents helping us out, but we ended up going back to London, working for another year and making money because we were out of money at that point. So then we traveled for another year, and we were like, okay, how can we make, what can we do now to make money off our travel? To generate revenue from our travel. So that's when we said, well, why don't we buy a bunch of film gear and try to make a TV show? The book
Mhm.
didn't work. We're not writers. Maybe we can be, we can be TV producers. So we, on that last trip, after we left England, making money. We saved our money. We spent our money that time, most of our money on film gear, cameras and audio gear and stuff.
Mhm.
And we went to India, and we concocted this big trip that I'd actually read in a National Geographic article once, an old trip about a journalist who travels from Bangladesh to Pakistan for several months in a black cab and
Mm.
documents his journey, and writes about India and Indian people. And so we thought, and the article was great. It was just so exotic and so crazy and wild. We were like, why don't we do the same trip as that, but why don't we buy an auto rickshaw instead of a taxi cab? That's too elitist, and that's too Western, and rich white guys would do that. So we
Mm.
we said, the auto rickshaw is the Indian, the Indian vehicle. So we took all our camera gear, flew back to India, and got you weren't allowed to drive a rickshaw, you weren't allowed to buy a auto rickshaw, you weren't allowed to drive one across the country, all of that stuff. So
Hmm.
um, it took several months. We were based in Kolkata, and took several months to get all the proper permissions and buy the rickshaw and all that kind of stuff. But we did. And then we spent a year driving from Bangladesh to Pakistan across India, and filmed the whole thing. And
Mhm.
we didn't know what we were doing, like writing. We were just sort of, you were learning as you were going along. And we got about three-quarters of the way down, and we got to Delhi, and we stopped there because it was extremely exhausting and dangerous. The traffic is, horrific there, and
Mhm.
so many obstacles, the heat and the monsoon and everything. So you're exhausted. We got to Delhi and we wanted to take a break, and then we wanted to see how our footage was. So we hired a um, professional production company in Delhi and put together kind of a trailer of the best of our footage from, the by that time we were on the road for 8 months. So we put together a trailer of our best, what we thought was the best footage from the 8 months. And, we set up a meeting with them, went to their office, sat down, you know, pressed play on the trailer and they watched it. And it was, 2 or 3 minutes long. And then it ended. And then there was kind of silence in the room and we were waiting for, the response. And they were like, that's not very good. That footage is not good at all. Really bad. And so we kind of like shut the laptop and said, "Thank you, we're leaving." And our feelings were quite hurt. And the they said, "No, no, relax, relax." They said, "We like the concept. We love the concept. You guys are great, but just the whole filming portion of it is just not good. The pans are too fast. It's unsteady. The audio is not good. Exposure's bad."
Mm.
And then we were like, we realized that, yeah, the idea was great and the adventure was good, but we just didn't have the skills at that point. So that was how I started my TV and video film production career with that journey. But then it progressed from there, and practice and
Yeah,
handling the
clearly
cameras
y'all
and
felt
things.
that you were onto something there, and you felt like you could go further with it, and you kept going and
Well,
did a bunch of really cool things.
you're right. It was a critical decision at that point. They were like, it's a great idea. You want to do it again? We'll send a film crew with you, and we'll make it a much shorter version, much shorter trip. But that's what you have to do. You have to go back, do it again with a proper film crew, and then you can take that trailer that we'll make a professional trailer, and you guys can try to sell it around the world. And then if you do, you must, you promise to come back and we'll shoot a proper episode with proper money, being properly paid here.
Right.
And so it was a bit of a critical decision by the brothers and I. Do we, go back to London or go to Australia or somewhere else and work, back in some office job or something, or do we, take the risk and do that? Um, so we ended up saying, okay, let's try it one more time, and we did. But it's not really, yeah, wasn't traditional art. I mean, this is an art podcast, of course, artistic podcast. And,
Mhm.
there's art in everything you do, everything you see, and, every sunset. And, I'm trying to justify that it was a very, artistic endeavor,
Mhm.
through what we were seeing and how we were doing it.
Yep.
And I look back now and see some of the things that we did there. I still do when I film now, as in it's not, maybe not what you do, in Toronto. A film production company might not, they'd look at me like I was crazy the way I do things a little bit sometimes, more guerrilla style or seat of the pants
Mhm.
or unscripted or undirected. And it turns out really well. So, um,
Right.
there was a lot of things that I did learn, at the beginning that I still practice now.
Yeah. When I think of what art is, I often come back to that it means creating something from nothing. And even if it is just following yourself and your brothers around with a camera and documenting what you're doing, you're still creating something that didn't exist before. So that's how I think of what art is. And even me wandering around Europe, at 25 with my camera and taking pictures of the Acropolis.
Yeah,
That was me
yeah,
making art
yeah,
as well. That
100%.
picture probably exists in many different living rooms around the world.
Yeah,
It
but
didn't look
it's
quite
true.
like when I took it.
It's true. I mean, when you're keeping a diary, it's a form of art. Or, I mean, as we went along, that's kind of an interesting story. Side story to that is, as we went along, in this rickshaw, we considered like it uh, a fourth
Mm.
spirit on the trip, because we spent hours every day, 16 hours a day in it through rough terrain. And, we really became, attached to this three-wheel vehicle. And, as we went along, we painted it. we painted the whole thing, kind of like the old hippies did with, with their vans or their, we painted the whole thing inside, outside. We put ornaments on the thing. We hung stuff on it. So it was a real piece of auto art. And so much so that, when we ended up finishing the journey. We said thank you to the people in India, in Delhi, the Indians, production people in Delhi. And then we went to which was another 1,000 kilometers probably. We drove to the Pakistan border in the rickshaw and finished the trip and filmed it ourselves just because we wanted to finish what we started. Then we backtracked to Delhi and hired them and redid the trip with proper camera people and stuff. But at the end of that trip, the Cape Breton University, who my brothers and I are all alumni of that university, they contacted us and asked us to ship the auto rickshaw back to Cape Breton, and because they wanted it as a piece of art in their art gallery. And so you can still go to Cape Breton now and go to the CBU campus in their art gallery, and that's a permanent exhibit in their art gallery. So
That's so cool. I thought that
yeah,
you were heading in that direction, and I was planning to ask, well, where is that rickshaw now? That's super
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so it's we get lots of comments from our friends and other people who, and it's you can it's great because they let they let kids climb into it or people sit in it, and it's so tiny and small, and it just I for the unveiling of it there last year, because they refurbished it to exactly, they had a team of people working on it for a year to refurbish it to exactly the way it was when we were driving it in India. It had become quite dilapidated and stuff, and they spent a lot of time and money and effort and brought it back to exactly the way it was. But they let people climb in it and stuff. And when I went back last year for the unveiling of the evening to unveil the rickshaw, they got a few pictures with us sitting in it. And my brother and I were sitting in it, and I couldn't believe how small it was. And I couldn't do this now. I was like, not beside you, not with this. No, my goodness. So, yeah, it's interesting the way times change because I could never do that trip now.
Well, anything travel-wise is so much easier when you're in your 20s.
Yeah. That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know how. Well, I think I might have even been in my 30s, actually,
Yeah, well,
mid 30s. So, yeah,
impressive.
not smart, but yeah, but yeah. And actually, it's we something else that came out that I'm very um I think that's pretty cool from that um initial journey was the on June 7th, as we were halfway across the country in the rickshaw, um we we had nothing. We had no money and we had no belongings. We had, we were it was very grassroots, very bare bones. And, you're in a different state, kind of mind state when you're in India because it's a very spiritual place. It's all around you.
Mhm.
And, when you're on the road, you're in a different mindset anyway. And so we created our own personal holiday, and it was June 7th, halfway through the year, and we called it Bang 7. And it's a day to like remember what's important in your life and who's important, and not to get caught up in the whole uh, pace of life and the materialism and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and we follow we celebrate that day every year on June 7th. We take the day off work and we relax and we, have a picnic with the kids or whatever. So it's a nice day. And, we have we have a postcard book that we made with some nice slogans on it and pictures that we took all throughout India and stuff. So I'll get you one of those. But, yeah, so it's nice. It's a nice thing I like to share with people. Back then, we had tons of ideas. We everything. We were inspired by everything we saw. But it's a
Mhm.
little bit harder now when you're trying to make the mortgage payment and this and that. So it's making art is it's tricky when you're sometimes the starving artist is they do the best art because they're less there's less you hear about all those artists
Yeah.
who were poor before they dead poor before they became famous, and then after they became famous, they struggled to make art. So yeah, it's an
Yeah.
interesting situation.
Yeah. It's freedom out there when you don't have anything to do and no
Mm.
responsibilities and,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
it's a
you might not be dressed the best in the room when you're in that situation, but
no, or smell the best for sure.
yeah. Oh my, yeah, no.
Um,
But then that's whole India. Um, yeah, that whole India sojourn that sort of started the my career in film. So I sort of backed my way into it. It kind of found us as much as I found it. So
mhm.
and
Yeah.
but yeah, I think now what I might be doing if I wasn't doing film, and yeah, I can't think about it. So yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this. It's a fun, it's a good job, and you're able to be creative every day in everything you do. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
nothing better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I talk to a lot of artists on this show who, struggle a little bit with the business side of their art career, and you seem to have started with a business degree and then built an arts kind of career on top of it, which is really interesting, and, um, so I'm wondering which side of yourself gets flexed more in your work? Is it your business side, or is it your creative side, or does it just change depending on what project you're in, or
Yeah, I wasn't very artistic when I was young. It's funny the way I look back and sort of when you approached me and asked me to have a chat with you on your podcast here, I was like, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking I wasn't artistic at all when I was young. Didn't play music, didn't write, didn't read in a sense, until
Mhm.
later. And then after I graduated from university and left, and sort of started traveling, then I became full on more, um, I really flexed my left side of my brain,
Yeah.
reading, writing, tech, I never traveled anywhere without the camera, taking my still camera, taking photos and, no phones back then. So you're using, the DSLR camera and, so or DSLR camera and,
Yeah.
the, but, so I really, I started late, but I got into it heavy. And then, now it's sort of gone the other way again. I'm less, and it frustrates me because I have less time to spend, being creative and
Mhm.
I spend more time, hustling new clients and, dealing with writing the proposals and, writing the invoices. And, you know, I have a couple of editors that I have worked with me. I send them all, a lot of the stuff to edit. So they're doing more of the creative stuff now than I am. I'm doing a lot of administrative stuff. So
Mm.
it's a tough balance. And it frustrates me sometimes that I don't have enough time to, you know, take pictures or do art films, more arty stuff on the side, just a short film on, someone in the community or something in the community that would be, that would be
Mhm.
cool that interests me. It's harder to do now because, you got bills to pay. So it's still there. I mean, I still find time to do different things, but not as much as I used to and not as much as I'd like.
Mhm. I'm wondering what kind of projects do you I mean, obviously, you're making a living at this, so you do have to look at money, but what else do you consider when you're asked to do something, like asked to film something or produce something?
Yeah. Well, it's always, it's funny because most clients don't know what they want. Um,
Mhm.
they have an idea, and that's the good thing. That's why I like the filming side of it, and not so much the editing. The editing is very creative, very artistic, and you get a good editor, and it can really it can really enhance your project from what you think it is, and then you give it to an editor, and they can really add layers to it. But for example, last year I did a Bell series called The Mixologist, which was it was really fun. It was
Mm.
my own project, and I partnered with a local mixologist in here in PEI in Charlottetown, and we did 6 episodes of. We matched a traditional cocktail with some PEI history and PEI ingredients, and we sourced the ingredients and we researched the history in PEI. So it was totally artistic in the sense that we had free reign to do whatever we wanted. And there were 6 15-minute episodes. So things like that is where I sort of get my flex my artistic mind again,
Right.
on my own projects, stuff like that. So
And of
and
course, there's the, legal information for seniors videos that you did for the nonprofit that I work for a few years ago.
yeah, they weren't as artistic as I would say they could have been.
You're getting a lot of views, man. We send those links out in emails all the time, so
It's funny what gets hits and what doesn't. Really, it's truly you think you've got a winner and you doesn't get many eyeballs, and then you do something that's not what you don't think maybe is, as exciting, and, people love it. So, yeah,
yeah.
it's you never know what's gonna resonate with an audience.
I came across the, Beyond the Beaten Path series that you and your brothers did, and,
Mm,
I was trying to find it to watch an episode or 2, and it looks like it was on Amazon Prime, and now it's not anymore, and
yeah.
I did find episodes on YouTube, but then as I was looking at the comments, I noticed that your brother's popping up and saying, You do not have permission to use this video. Please answer my emails," and stuff like that. And I was thinking, I'm like, "Man, this happens. Like,
Yeah,
this must
yeah,
happen all the time to people's
yeah,
work
yeah, yeah,
online."
yeah. So we have an agent that series had, I don't know, 20 episodes in it. It was
Mhm.
3 seasons, and, it was a couple of $1,000,000 to shoot the project. So it was a very it took a lot of time and money, 3 years and
Mm.
several $1,000,000. So and we have an agent and he still sells that show around the world. Like, you can watch it in Russia. It's airing in Russia now, or Cambodia, and
Right.
Thailand, and it's on in Australia right now. And so, you're not making a lot of money from it, but you're still making, residual income from it
Mhm.
because, some of these countries still wanna buy content like that. So, yeah, when we see it, somewhere, on someone's, channel or site or something, it's, you just, kinda ask them to remove it, but there's nothing really you can do, but it is frustrating, and yeah, um, I'm everyone knows that it happens a lot, and, lazy people just, grabbing people's hard work. So,
Yeah.
um, with music, I'm sure, people use, their music and stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. We see it often. So,
Mm. Now, on the webpage for that show, I did catch this little paragraph that says, "There is a crazy story behind Beyond the Beaten Path, but we only share it face to face over a beer. Next time you see one of the brothers, buy them a pint and ask them to tell you the story." Is there any way you could share the story here, Jeff?
that was probably when we were single as well, just trying to get the attention of ladies. I don't know. It's We were desperate. We were desperate, us 3.
Okay.
No, let me think, what story. Oh, there's so many stories, like, in that series, like, that opening bio, it might be embellished slightly, but that last bit there when it said, "We nearly died in the Philippine Sea," we were filming there, and,
Mm.
on the second last day, we were traveling across the Philippine Sea in a boat that sank. So we lost
Mm.
all our film gear.
Oh my god.
We're floating in the sea. Nobody knew we were there because, the captain never, uh, said we were going out to sea because he was the reason we sank. He was a
Mm.
drunken, crazy captain. And then, the producer in Toronto didn't know we were there because the shoot was falling apart because the fixer that we hired in the Philippines didn't have everything arranged properly. So, anyway, so
Mm.
stuff like that is, lots of stories like that where you float in the water for, 30 hours until someone rescue you.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
so, yeah, but yeah, it's lots of crazy stories like that. Yeah. So, but yeah, we lost that whole show. We lost that whole show, and we had to go back a month later and reshoot it. But,
oh my god.
one of the brothers was in the hospital at that point still, so we had to go back without him because we had a delivery date for the, network. So he was in the hospital, and we went back without him. So, but,
Wow. Wild.
it's the stories. I'll take a free beer anytime.
Okay. Next time we're in the same place, we'll do that.
Uh,
How can people find your work, and what should people be keeping an eye out for in '26 from you? 2026.
Yeah, 2026 already. Wow. The I have a production website. There's a little bit of stuff. It's more corporate than it's not really wildly artistic in the sense of um, it's more tied to corporate video projects. But there's still some stuff for tourism on there that a few cool tourism videos on there. There's maybe my TV trailers on there. Some other stuff that's kind of interesting. YouTube, if you just Google me on YouTube, there's a lot of stuff on there as well. And then the egarbrothers.com is we're going to try to update that this year. So
And you have a few things
but,
on Bell 5 TV, I think,
yeah,
too, right?
yeah, Bell 5. Yep. We're hoping to get another season for last year's show that we did there. And I have a couple more pitches that I have some TV pitches that I'm still pitching that involve the brothers and travel and some bigger TV ideas and
Mhm.
some smaller TV ideas as well. So there's always stuff in the hopper that I'm throwing at the wall, and
Yeah.
it is a very, of course, like anything else, like music or writing or anything, it's very difficult to land those big projects, but
Yeah.
you keep trying.
Yeah. Is it any harder being based in PEI than it would be if you were still based in, like, Toronto or something?
Yes and no, maybe. I mean, I learned I learned a lot. Our company was based in Toronto. Our production company for Which Way To Beyond the Beaten Path was we opened a production company in Toronto for 3 years and lived up there while we were producing that series. And we did learn a lot about the TV industry when we lived there. And you meet a lot of people and you learn a lot about it. So I don't think I have to be there now to run a successful
Mhm.
business. I can be here and fly up there easy and meet people. I know a lot of people there now, and I know how to navigate the industry. But I think without that experience, it'd be pretty tough now if I hadn't have lived there
Right.
and stuff. So it's different, a little bit different now with technology, and you can fly around a little bit more in Zoom calls and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so it is a little bit different now, but definitely helped me living up there and being a part of the industry.
Mhm.
But I reckon, I do tell young people, if you wanna start out in the industry, start here and learn here, and then maybe move to a bigger center after. But, I think you
Yeah.
can start here and do be successful if you're creative and, you work hard and you do cool stuff, then, you'll get attention.
Mhm. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining me. This was great.
Thank thank you. It was fun. Yeah. I will get you a beer sometime when we meet up. We'll have to meet up sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
It's nothing and everything. It's a gentle sigh and a scream into the void. It can leave you. It can be you if you let it. You don't know what to do and you don't know what to say. Forget all that. Start anyway. Spark that fire and build it high and watch it burn. Then let it die. It can make you cry. It can dry your eyes. It can be the one that keeps you warm inside, and it breaks your heart, then tells you where to start if you let it. You don't know what to do, and you don't know what to say. Forget all that. Start anyway. Spark that fire, then build it high. Watch it burn, and let it die. It can make you stand up, make you fly. It's a lifetime. In the blink of an eye, it's obsession and objection to the status quo. You got a lot to do, and you got a lot to say. Just write it out, get it on the page. Find your crew, get mobilized, and maybe soon it's nothing and everything. It's a gentle sigh and a scream into the void. It can leave you, it can be you if you let it.